where do you think Odell Beckham Jr. will end up whenever he does decide to sign?
I think he should sign with the Cowboys. I think it's pretty cut and concise as far as I see it. The Cowboys have a lot more to work with as far as just an overall team compared to the Giants. And the Giants, as far as their record concerned, I mean, they're not bad. They're 7-3. They're a solid team so far this year, and they've really been kind of one of the biggest surprises in the NFL this year. But just from a total package perspective, the Dallas Cowboys, they have it all. And I think if you were to insert OBJ into that wide receiving core, granted, we don't know where he would be at as far as his total effectiveness goes. Would it be something to the level of what he had in the Super Bowl before he tore his ACL, or would it be something slightly lower than that? We'll kind of see whenever he hits the field again. But I think if you put him in that situation where he's alongside CeeDee Lamb and Michael Gallup, you got a nice little three-man trio in that wide receiving core. And then you got Tony Pollard and Ezekiel Elliott in the backfield with Dak Prescott leading the way at the quarterback position. That'd be quite an offense to look at when it comes to the Dallas Cowboys. And not only that, you also got Dalton Schultz in there at your tight end position. So if you're an opposing defense, it would definitely be a stretch to be able to cover all those guys effectively, simply just because one of those guys, whether it's from the running back department or the wide receiving core, somebody's going to get open. But I think when it comes to Odell, he is getting older. This is his second torn ACL that he's had to deal with. And we don't know how effective he's going to be. Hopefully, when he hits the field, it's just like OBJ from back in the day, and he's able to produce at a high clip. And obviously, I think a lot of people want to see that from him. But those ACL injuries are very tough to come back from. And we could look at Chris Godwin, who's playing with the Tampa Bay Bucks this year. He tore his ACL at the beginning of this year, not this season, but back in January when he was playing with the Bucks in the playoffs, and he was never the same. And we don't know whether or not that he's going to be able to live up to that same standard, simply just because ACL injuries are very difficult to come back from. But I think if Odell is smart, I think he knows the situation that's currently presented in front of him. We'll see how the meeting with Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys front office goes. I think it will probably go very well. But I understand the reunion aspect would be kind of cool, just, for him to run it back with the Giants. But I think if he has any smarts here, I think he goes with the Cowboys. I think the Cowboys have a much better potential to be able to do something for possibly getting to a Super Bowl this year. Take that with a grain of salt because they typically find a way to screw things up. But I just think the Cowboys are a much better team, and they would definitely present a much better force or have a better show of force when we get to the playoffs this year than the Giants, simply just because the Giants are still a little bit iffy in my mind for them possibly making the playoffs. And if they did, even if they had Odell Beckham Jr., they've got Daniel Jones at the quarterback position. And I have no faith that Daniel Jones is even going to be viable for the Giants. And that's despite the fact that they have one of the best running backs in the league with Saquon Barkley, who's been healthy the entire year. So Odell should probably go to the Cowboys as far as I see it. It would make them an instant NFC contender as far as I see it. And who knows? Maybe the Cowboys might run the table and go all the way to the Super Bowl. I doubt it, just because they find a way to screw things up. But they definitely would be a solid team to contend with if they were able to add Odell's services to that roster. That's just how I see it.
Well, I'm going to agree with Kyle, and I'm not going to reiterate everything because I feel like I've been repeating him pretty much all night tonight. I will say that I agree that he's going to go to Dallas, and I'm going to take this from a Giants perspective. You have to look at it business-wise. Odell has said two things. I want to compete to win, and I want to be committed somewhere long-term. The Giants are winning right now, but let's look at the other factor, long-term. They did not commit to re-signing Daniel Jones on his fifth-year option. They don't have him or any rumor to have him in the near future unless it's going to be a franchise tag. So basically, a year-in, year-out basis. So basically a tryout every single season. Daniel Jones is not the best quarterback in the world, albeit he's been playing better this season, better than he has his entire career. But is that going to be attributed to their schedule? Was that attributed to the play calling from Dable? Did people adjust to Daniel Jones over the last couple of weeks? I don't know. But if I'm Odell, as awesome as it would be to return home, the team that drafted me, go back to the team that doesn't have the GM that treated me like shit, doesn't have the head coach that ruined my career, and Ben McAdoo, I don't think it makes sense for him. As good as they're right now, as much as he would help them with the injuries to the wide receiver core, with Daniel Jones being more of a run heavy quarterback, with them leaning that offense more towards running the football as a whole, and them having a dwindled wide receiver core as it is, him being the number one option on that team would not benefit him because A, he would receive that corner, that team's opposing team's best corner. We don't even know if he's going to be 100%. We don't know how viable he's going to be. We don't even know if the Giants are willing to commit to him long term. And if he gets hurt again, the Giants are now stuck with that. Another injury prone receiver. I don't think it's smart for the Giants to do that as well. So Dallas is the only viable option for every reason I just listed. And they're in win now mode. Dak's locked up, Zeke's locked up, CeeDee Lamb's going to get an extension, Micah Parsons is on a rookie deal, Trayvon Diggs is on his deal. Like, you have people to build for the future. DeMarcus Lawrence is already on a contract. Like, there are a number of players that are already committed to Dallas long term. Saquon's going to need an extension. Kenny Galladay's got to come off of that roster. Obviously, Darius Slayton's going to want an extension. Wendell Robinson, we have to figure out the injury history there. You have to figure out the offensive line of who you're going to re-sign and let go. Daniel Jones, a question at the quarterback position. The Giants have too many looming question marks for the foreseeable future, including to the end, just the end of the season, in my opinion. So for Odell, business-wise, winning-wise, commitment-wise, I'm going to want to be with a team that at least has a better surrounding cast for a longer period of time. And of course, again, I think that Dallas is better than New York at this point, especially with everything that New York has just gone through this weekend. So I think Odell goes to Dallas. If another team were to come out of nowhere, like the Chiefs, like the Packers, I have no idea. It's just a matter of right now he's not committed, but the rumors have him circled or tied to two teams. We all know in the NFL, you could be tied, you can be in the office, you could be rumored to have signed the contract until the pen reaches the paper. There's a picture of you signing it in the office. I'm not going to believe any rumors until something is actually concrete. So for Odell's sake, I don't want to see him go to Dallas because I think that would just be gross. As a Eagles supporter and a native New Yorker, I've always hated Dallas, so it's like, bleh. But overall, if that's what's best for his career, I've loved him as a player since he was a rookie. I loved him in LSU. So let's just hope for the sake, first and foremost, he's healthy and that he can contribute, and that he's able to show out and say, "Listen, I've had two messed up knees. I can still do this thing." So Odell, go do what you need to do. You won your Super Bowl. It's time to prove that you can still do what you got to do.